Members, Madam Speaker.
Prayers.
Almighty God, we need to listen to your protection, goodness, our petals of leaders and parliaments for the society, just government humanity. We seek you to look upon, help and favor these your servants, whom you've been pleased to call the performance of such important trust in this land. Let your blessings send upon me assembled and granted may as in your presence. Treat and consider all matters shall come under deliberation. Is so just and faithful to your honor and glory, and to advance the good of those whose interests you have committed their church.
Item number 2, communication from the chair.
Honorable members, we wish to welcome you for today's sitting and sincerely thank you for coming for today's sitting. I would also like to, on behalf of Parliament, extend the appreciation and congratulations to our members who went to Arusha. They've done a tremendous job. They've made Uganda proud, and we believe they will come with so many medals. Honorable members, as per the Public Finance Management Act, Section 9(5), the minister is supposed to lay the budget framework paper latest 31st December. And I'm urging the Minister of Finance, it's unfortunate the front desk is. Madam, I am urging you to lay the Public Finance Management Act, the budget framework paper on table before 31st. Mindful that we are going for Christmas recess. So you should do that as earliest as possible. We have some matters of national importance. Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I rise to thank you for your communication, Right Honorable. And on the matter that you raised, that our members of Parliament are doing great work in sports and performing excellently well. Right Honorable Speaker, I wanted to add my voice to thank you for the efforts you put in as the leader of this Parliament to see that this comes to happen, because we had so many challenges, and to urge the Minister of Finance to continue supporting Parliament, especially with the resources whenever we need, because we appropriate these budgets to do the work for this country. And that is why you're seeing that performance excellent like that, because of your support, Right Honorable Speaker. I beg to submit, I could not leave that to be, I wanted that to be on record, Right Honorable.
Thank you, Commissioner. Matter of national importance. Actually, when I communicate, I don't expect a response. I am telling you, I want a budget framework paper to be laid on table. Not so. I am also thanking you for coming, and I'm thanking for the team which is in Arusha. Yes, government.
Right, Honorable Speaker, honorable members. I want to thank you for reminding us of our obligation. Most obliged. Please, we request for space on Tuesday so that we do the needful. Thank you.
Thank you. On Tuesday, we shall have the budget framework paper laid on table and procedure. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I raise on a procedural matter. Madam Speaker, you just drawn our attention to an upcoming Christmas season. Madam Speaker, we have as a nation a crisis knocking on our doors. And this is the national-wide crisis or nationwide crisis. And Madam Speaker, the crisis is simply the strike by the intern that was illegally, unfairly, unheard, fired by the Ministry of Education, of Health. Madam Speaker, I represent people that are treated from government hospitals because those are the only places they can afford. Madam Speaker, as I speak right now, I have constituents that are stuck in Mulago Hospital. They have nowhere to go. They're in a critical condition. There are no doctors that are attending to them. And those that were attending to them were the interns.
What is the procedural matter? You would have said you want to make a statement.
Madam
What is the
Speaker,
procedural matter?
the procedural matter, Madam Speaker, is everything else can wait, but not the life and health of our fellow citizens. Madam Speaker, if we can't stand for those that don't have the opportunity to be heard or this kind of opportunity, then I think personally, I feel I'm losing the relevancy in national building. Madam Speaker, would we as a parliament be procedurally right to continue with the business of parliament when we have a crisis knocking on the doors? Because as I speak right now, Madam Speaker, the senior House officers, and those are people that are trained at master's level, cardiologists, neurologists, have joined the strike, Madam Speaker. We're going into recess. The only people available to help them is you, Madam Speaker, as a leader of this institution. And I don't want to think that you are ready to see this happen at your watch. Madam Speaker, I ask that within 2 days, you direct the Minister of Health to resign the decision, call these fellow citizens back to their work because they're not asking for too much. What we're doing as a country, Madam Speaker.
Can you conclude?
Yes, Madam Speaker, thank you very much. What we're doing as a country, Madam Speaker, is nothing less than professional terrorism. We're targeting professionals. We are going down in the history of the world as the only country that has ever suspended medical doctors in the history of the world. And I don't think that that is a history that we would be proud of. Madam Speaker, next,
There is an order.
this will be enhanced.
There is an order.
Right Honorable Speaker, whereas my senior brother, Honorable Atkins, is speaking about a very pertinent issue. The procedure of this House is that when you stand on a point of procedure, you should talk about something that is happening in this House, Right Honorable Speaker. Would it be in order, Right Honorable Speaker, for a member to keep raising something that is very important, but brings it as a procedure when we are talking about a different matter, yet he has an opportunity as a member of parliament to bring a substantial matter. Is in order, Right Honorable Speaker?
I actually don't know how you smuggled in Christmas in what you're saying, that now that we are going for Christmas. That's a very important issue that should be brought on its own, not as a matter of procedure. It is our concern for everybody on the issue of the doctors, and that will be handled. That issue will be handled. You don't have to dwell so much on it. And when you say that, are we proceeding well by having a sitting like there's nothing? I mean, should we stop a sitting? Should we also strike in Parliament? Parliament is a place that should make decisions, that makes decisions for this country, good or bad. So we cannot strike here by not sitting because there is a strike somewhere.
Madam Speaker, we really want to
So sit, Ebwalu,
thank you very much, Madam Speaker,
Honorable Ebwalu.
and I hope action can be taken.
Members, 2 minutes.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on a matter of urgent national importance in respect to the fraudulent sale and acquisition of government land in Soroti District and Soroti City. Madam Speaker, Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, UBC, has lost several acres of land fraudulently to a private company called Pilgrim Africa. In April 2011, His Excellency the President, Yoweri Museveni, directed that part of the UBC land in Dakabela be given to Teso University, a matter that suffered stillbirth. It is that later, Madam Speaker, that this group took advantage of and illegally occupied the land by duping the president. Madam Speaker, we only have Soroti University that is sitting in a different land from that of the UBC. I can authoritatively confirm to this Parliament that the UBC land is in the hands of a private firm illegally. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the UBC land in Dakabela is where the Radio Uganda External Services, famously known for airing the last communication by President Idi Amin. So that land in that area was an extension of Radio Uganda. Madam Speaker, the second matter in respect to the sale of land in the city is the Soroti Golf Course land that has been fraudulently acquired by the same firm called Pilgrim Africa. And we all know that Soroti Golf Course is one of the courses established by the British colonialists here in Uganda. Records in the Lands Office show that the prime land that is close to 40 acres in the heart of Soroti City is in the names of Pilgrim Africa and Shinda Holdings Limited, both private companies. Right Honorable Speaker, what disturbs me is that this land is guarded 24/7 by the UPDF. You cannot cross in that land in the golf course. When I inquired from Muzei Ekadu Raymond, the president of the Soroti Golf Club, how Pilgrim acquired this land and Shinda Holdings, he said the directors approached them with a view of renovating the swimming pool, but only learned that Pilgrim Africa and Holdings and the Shinda Holdings had acquired the land titles and deployed the soldiers in that area. Madam Speaker, my prayers are that the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development makes a statement in this Parliament on the status of Soroti Golf Course land in Soroti City and the UBC land in Dakabela, Soroti. Number two, that the Minister instructs the relevant ministries or departments to declare the transactions null and void, and that the Minister directs the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development to cancel the purported land title and gives back this land to Soroti Golf Course and Dakabela. Madam Speaker, the final prayer is that the Minister stops further development in the said land until the matter is resolved. I beg to move, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Attorney General, can you take up on that issue and check on the legality of the acquisition?
Actually, Madam Speaker, I had shared this with Honorable Cosmas Elotu, who is right there.
Honorable Walu, when
Thank
the
you.
speaker is speaking, you sit.
Thank you.
Attorney General, take it up.
Noted, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Leader of opposition, what is it?
Madam Speaker, I'm rising in respect of a matter of urgent public importance. Madam Speaker, as we talk in Kayunga right now, the police have visited lots of brutality, torture, and violence on opposition supporters. Actually, they are shooting live bullets, and I've so far had so many victims. One of them is Hassan Serwada, who has been rushed in a terrible condition to hospital. And the Honorable Francis Zake was not only tortured, he was roughed up, and as we talk, his whereabouts are not known. Madam Speaker, a few days or rather months ago, the president was categorical when he condemned extrajudicial shooting, extrajudicial torture. I don't know whether you are the Holy Ghost to discern his whereabouts, but I think you are wrong. Madam Speaker, the president was categorical. He condemned torture. And in my brief prayer, the minister ought to come and give us an explanation of this willful disrespect to the president's directive, actually contempt of the president's directive. And also should tell us the whereabouts of this colleague, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Lob, it's unfortunate you just hijacked, but if you had given me prior information, then you would have let the minister to be in the house to respond to whatever you're saying, but all the same, we can have government. If it is true that they have been tortured, it is unfortunate. And yes, Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, we don't know anything about that. We shall go investigate the matter and report back.
So you report back on Thursday. You know, we can't rely on that now before somebody goes in the field, because you know this social media tweets. Yes, Abdallah. Members, 2 minutes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm raising on a matter of urgent public importance involving Ugandans dealing in poultry farming who cannot, as we talk now, export their products to the Republic of Kenya, given the background of the East African Federation and open market protocol. It is becoming extremely hard. Kenya is now and then banning various products. The other day it banned maize, it banned milk and beef. Currently, as we talk now, traders are crying, they are in losses, these are perishable goods. Eggs can no longer enter Kenya as we talk now. My prayer, we need an urgent, government should come in and provide an urgent attention to the traders to engage the Republic of Kenya to agree on various products which can enter into the open market protocol. Or in retaliation, we call upon our government to equally ban. Yes, this is continuously going on, brothers and sisters. Our brothers are suffering. For them, they are always importing plastic products. They are importing, actually, the chicks. Kenya export more chicks in Uganda, and Ugandans are buying them. When it comes to products going to Kenya, they are banning them. So in retaliation, we can equally identify some products which can be banned. I call upon our government to identify some products to be banned, and equally, or in alternative, to sit with the Republic of Kenya to see how this can be harmonized immediately. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Abdallah. Government.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker and members. The issue the member is raising has been brought to the attention of government. And as we talk today, a meeting is going on under the chair of Right Honorable Rebecca Ritwala Kadaga, the first Deputy Prime Minister and Minister in charge of East African Affairs, together with the Minister of Agriculture and also the Minister of Trade. Discussions are on. We must find a solution, because if we are to integrate, we must work together. So, Right Honorable Speaker, we request for time that the statement is made tomorrow, because it's affecting our farmers. 70% of the eggs are exported to Kenya, and 80% of the chicks used in this country are supplied by Kenya. And the farmers are also in this house. So it concerns some of the members who are here, including me who is talking, but government is handling it. We request for time so that tomorrow a statement is brought and a solution is found, because members are losing. I thank you,
Thank
Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you so much. We will expect a response tomorrow. Lawrence.
Right Honorable Speaker, I rise on a matter of national importance concerning the electricity situation in West Nile currently. If there is any region that has suffered from inadequate and reliable electricity, West Nile is one of them. For the last 2 weeks, there had been unreliable power supply in West Nile. And when we contacted the relevant ministries, the answer we get is that there is not enough fuel to run the generators which we took there, and that the Nyagak power station, which was built to generate 3.5 megawatts, is only generating 1.5 megawatt. And the reason is one of those turbines was an old one which was installed there. Now, my prayers is that this situation has made the West Nile people to suffer. Businesses, hospitals are suffering. So my prayers are, one, the Ministry of Energy should urgently address that situation to put power to the people of West Nile in the short run. Number two, the members of the West Nile Parliamentary Caucus, which I share, will be meeting on Thursday. And we pray that, Right Honorable Speaker, you direct the Ministry of Energy and Rural Electricity Regulatory Authority to be in that meeting, to brief these members who are working together to see that there is power in West Nile, and later on to brief Parliament on the steps they have taken. Number three,
Electricity Regulatory Authority has advertised for renewal, modification of licenses of Wenreco, which is managing power in West Nile. We need a briefing from the ministry why they would modify the licenses when Wenreco has failed to supply reliable power to West Nile. And finally, together with the West Nile Parliamentary Caucus, we pray that the team working on electricity right from the ministry and the agencies should go to the field so that we can assess some of these situations on the ground. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Minister of Energy. Honorable Lawrence, I will not direct, but I will request the minister. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. And I want to thank my colleague with whom we've been discussing for having raised this matter on the floor of Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, West Nile is one of the regions that I visited immediately I took over the office of the Minister of Energy. I'm abreast with the problems in West Nile. And since then, a lot has been done, except that one of it that can excite them will take a bit of time, where we are planning to develop a 10 megawatt solar plant to beef up the intermittent power to the region. But I also informed my colleagues about our plans to extend the national grid. We are constructing a 134 kV line, which will be completed in October next year. What we need is an immediate action to at least make sure that there is that solution. One, it's right, it's true that Nyagak hydropower, Nyagak 1, which was supposed to produce 3.5 megawatts, is under producing because of the problem of one unit which is down. So we have only 1.5 megawatts produced. The second problem is on Electromax, who are generating power from fuel. Whenever we have challenges in fuel, that means Electromax is not going to generate enough power. I have sanctioned the Electricity Regulatory Authority CEO to call a meeting with Electromax so that we listen to them. They are supposed to beef up power. So I am committing myself, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm going to call a meeting to sit with Electromax and see how we can help in solving the challenge of getting enough fuel, enough petroleum, so that they can beef up the power which is not sufficient in West Nile. As far as meeting the MPs is concerned, you don't have to direct us. We have to give service. And I was discussing with them. I received a letter today calling for a meeting on 22nd. And my team is in the field. Once they come back, I will sit with my colleagues so that we understand one another and be able to tackle the challenge. I beg to submit.
Ferry, go.
I'm not there.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I'm raising on the matter of national importance concerning the floods in Kasese, Nyamwamba River. Madam Speaker, recently, Minister of Water and Environment got funding worth 30 billion Uganda shillings to address the issue of Nyamwamba River. Madam Speaker, surprisingly, the activities supposed to be financed by the 30 billion are software activities. Nyamwamba River has been disturbing the community of Kasese municipality because the waters get blockages. The channels have been blocked. We expect that that 30 billion, when it's given out, we should buy machines like bulldozers excavators and other related machines so that these machines are attached to Nyamaba
Honorable
River
Ferry,
for distilling.
what were the terms of the funding?
The terms were like 30 billion has been released, means of water and environment by World Bank. Should
Now,
see
what
how
you do, bring that document that shows how much money was disbursed, what the terms of the funding was, so that we shall be able to discuss it conclusively.
Yes, that's one. Number two, relatedly, Madam Speaker, I'm glad to report that the Prime Minister's office has earmarked 2 billion shillings to build Kilembe Hospital, which was also washed away by Nyamamba River. My request is the Prime Minister's office should expedite the process. 2 years, people have been suffering because the hospital was washed away. My request is that the process be expedited so that that hospital is rebuilt, because Kilembe Mines Limited has already earmarked land where that hospital can be built.
When was the 2 billion given?
We got communication by Prime Minister that around 1 month back, 2 months back, that the money is already earmarked by Prime Minister's office. So we are requesting for expediting of the process so that the hospital is constructed.
Okay,
I'm getting information from my colleague.
I expected it.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I'm here to honor your expectation. Thank you, my honorable brother, Honorable Ferry, for giving me this opportunity to give this particular information. Madam Speaker, if this country and parliament is not careful, I think assessors bond to be used as a business for disaster entrepreneurs. For one reason, Madam Speaker, disaster entrepreneurs. For one reason, the money that my honorable brother is talking about is not the only funding that is going to Kasese. Actually, about 8 months ago, Madam Speaker, that community received 29 billion. People, I don't know whether they go take the money using sacks in Kasese, and we've had a chain of disaster after disaster. Now again, 30 billion. Madam Speaker, under your leadership, I remember one of the senior officials or some people in the government saying that gotten 5 billion Uganda shillings to go and build a hospital, buy land for those that have been displaced by floods, and also put up some school in that community. Madam Speaker, when that happened, I went to the community as a responsible citizen, and I asked my district cow, my district chairperson, whether the said 5 billion shillings that was purported to put up a school and a hospital. I'm giving information. Madam Speaker, I depend upon your leadership, and I don't think that this is something that you can stand for a community that has lost lives and property under the wrath of disaster to continue being used by disaster entrepreneurs. And Madam Speaker, that is the information that I wanted to serve my honorable brother. I appreciate it, Madam Speaker. Disaster entrepreneurs, Kasese is not a place to make your business. That is the point. We need services. The rains are pounding hard. We've lost lives. So we can't continue seeing people losing life, money being injected in Kasese and no work being done. And please observe the local content. It's not enough to take services to Kasese, please.
Honorable Atkins, that's enough information.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And that
Madam
information
Speaker.
has been in this house for all this month. Maybe government, what you need to do is to
Right Honorable Speaker, whereas I had Honorable Ferry go well, for Honorable Atkins, I'm not sure what I had. But at least one thing stood out when he said disaster entrepreneurship. At least that one I had. And it's a very, very unfortunate statement from a leader of an area where government has been responding to disaster. People have lost lives. And when we come in, you say that's disaster entrepreneurship. That's very, very unfortunate, right, Honorable Speaker. But the office of the Prime Minister is taking up this matter of the hospital, and the Prime Minister herself committed, and the Minister of Health, we've had meetings, and we are working around the clock to ensure that indeed the hospital is worked on. Thank you.
So you need to make sure what you promised is fulfilled. The people have been suffering for the last 2 years, so we need to rescue those people. Alan?
Thank you so much, right on the Speaker. For record purposes, Mayanja Alan from Nakasika Central. I rise on an urgent matter regarding the people of Mejuma Parish, Chirinda Parish, and Kalagala Parish, all located in Wachat Sub-County, in my constituency, Nakasika Central, who are suffering from destructive wild animals like wild boars, also known as wild pigs, antelopes, chimpanzees, and monkeys for now 2 years down the road. Right on the Speaker, there are about 21 villages found in these 3 parishes which are being affected. Right on the Speaker, hectares of crops and banana plantation are being ravaged by these wild animals. Livestock and poultry are being eaten by the same. This is an insult added to an injury, because on 23rd October 2021, these particular parishes suffered from destructive hailstorm that left crops, poultry, livestock, and property lost. However much I appealed to the office of the Prime Minister for intervention, but all in vain. Yet a number of farmers had acquired agricultural loans from banks. Right Honorable Speaker, my people are worried that if these wild animals are not taken away by authorities to where they should belong to, they may turn to spreading diseases and feeding on humans as soon as crops which they now feed on are finished. Right on the Speaker, therefore, pray that the office of the Prime Minister, together with the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife, and Antiquities, intervenes to assess the situation and accordingly come to the rescue of my constituents with food, seeds, and any other remedies that they may deem necessary from their assessment. Otherwise, right on the Speaker, the magnitude of destruction experienced is worrying, and it is likely to trigger food shortage and affect livelihood. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Alan. Government.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. This same issue, I remember we directed the minister to go in the field and make field studies and even report back. As I talk, he's in Sebei sub-region. Over the weekend, he was in Queen, tackling the issue of human-wildlife conflict in general, where we said we need a comprehensive report and solutions. So I'm going to ensure that I rate him. He goes to your constituency, Honorable, and we shall get in touch with you so that before he goes, he can go with you. But in the meantime, on the component of interventions from the Prime Minister, I request you work with your district authorities, you assess the damage. and under the District Disaster Committee, they submit a report to the Office of the Prime Minister for action. Thank you.
Thank you. Emegu, then finally Feta. Is the chairman of finance here? Emegu, Feta.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm rising on the issue of urgent importance. Right Honorable Speaker, while the government of Uganda has given a ferry codenamed BKK, Bukungu in Buyende, Kabra Maido in Kabra Maido, and then Kagwara in Serere, the construction actually started seriously going on. But right now, the problem which is there, Right Honorable Speaker, while in Bukungu site and in Serere site, the construction has gone up to 60%. On the side of Akampala in Ochero County in Kabramaido district, it is just at 20%. And the reason being, one, UNRWA up to now has not compensated the landowners. So the construction cannot move until UNRWA acquires this land. Two, the bad road that comes up to the site where the company, the Terrain Services Limited, is supposed to pick the materials and actually the passage, the access route to this place. It is called actually Right Honorable Kategaya Road, because it was him who commissioned that road in 1994. The road is so bad that, and actually it's the worst road in the country at the moment. Even as the company, the constructors are trying to do some small construction, their heavy sino trucks cannot pass through this road. So they are to hire the forward trucks, not still go through this 18-kilometer road from the place where they need to pick the hardcore. They are to pass through a actually Honorable Lobo Dubai's constituency to access 40 kilometers to access the site. Yet it should have been only 18 kilometers. So UNRWA, even up to now, the district has applied that UNRWA should take this 18-kilometer road so that these people can walk on the road, the site so easily. Up to now, UNRWA has not done anything. Right, Honorable Speaker, therefore my prayer is this. One, may the minister responsible for this push UNRWA and ensure that they should compensate the owners of the land so that the construction can go ahead. Two, can they take over this road, the Kategaya Road, which will help actually in the completion of this. Otherwise, I thank government for giving us that, but all the delay is based on those two things, which is why I put my prayer. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I do appreciate the concerns of the Honorable Member. Point taken, I'll pick it up and get UNRWA to act so that we don't have the ferry ready and then we don't have access to the learning sites. Thank you very much for the
Thank you, General. Feta.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise on the matter of urgent national importance, but fortunately, my caucus chair has raised a number of the issues. However, I bring you fresh feel from the constituency where I've just come. For the last 3 weeks, West Nile has been in complete blackout and constant load shedding by Wenereko and the Electromax, particularly the Greater Arua, Nebi, Pakwach.
Honorable, you're going to discuss that in the meeting.
Right, Honorable
when the minister
Speaker,
comes.
there are more pertinent issues that I thought should be given opportunity
In
to raise
regard
to
to
the minister
electricity,
in regard to this particular issue.
you're going to discuss it in the meeting, since the minister is going to be part of the meeting. So discuss it on Thursday.
Thank you, but it should be on record that West Nile has consistently suffered this, and the feel of the constituency is not good. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item.
Item number 3, the income tax amendment number 2, Bill 2021, Bill second reading.
Honorable Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled Income Tax Amendment, Bill number 2, 2021, be read for the second time.
Is the bill seconded? Is the bill seconded? Seconded by Batua, Dr. Batua, by Dr. Isingoma, by Honorable Silwa, Commissioner, by Government Chief Whip, by the majority of members. I can see William there, Enos, Chairman of the Committee of Finance, Planning, and Economic Development. And can you please come and present to us your report?
Madam, procedure.
Yes.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg that.
You want to speak to your motion?
Yes, in
Okay,
one sentence.
okay.
Right Honorable Speaker, in one sentence, as a matter of justification, this bill is seeking to amend the Income Tax Act, Cap 334, to provide for a windfall tax and limitation on deductions on petroleum operations. Madam Speaker, I am aware the committee has considered this bill and is ready to make its report.
Thank you. Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Right Honorable. The committee has considered the bill and we found it very straightforward. We are making no amendments and basically recommending that it's approved as presented by the executive. Without further ado, I'd like to submit.
Thank you. Lob, you lay on table the report, the minutes. Lay the report, the minutes. What are you laying?
I beg to lay, Madam Speaker.
What have you laid on table?
What I've laid, Madam Speaker, are the, okay. Thank you. Okay, what I'm laying, Madam Speaker, is the report of the committee and then the minutes of the meeting. Thank you. Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development. Madam
And what is it is on amendments, income tax amendment?
Yes, on the Income Tax Amendment Act.
Please lay. Thank you, Chair, for the report. Members, the report is uploaded on your on your iPads. You can get time and read it. And as Chair said, everything was considered on the affirmative. Yes.
Speaker, I thank you. On this one, Right Honorable Speaker, all the provisions are a result of the signed agreements, where the country committed itself. We have little room for additional deduction, and it enjoys our full backing.
Thank you, honorable members. I put a question that the income tax amendment number 2 bill 2021 be read for the second time. Those in favor say and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
The income tax amendment number 2 bill 2021 bills committee stage. The income tax amendment number 2 bill 2021 clause 1.
I put a question that clause 1 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
I put a question that clause 2 do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for the House to resume. The title.
Honorable Minister. I put a question that the title stand part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for the House to resume.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the House do resume and the Committee of the whole House report thereto.
I put a question that the House do resume and the Committee of the whole House report thereto. Those in favor say and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Report from the Committee of the whole House.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the whole House has considered the bill entitled Income Tax Amendment Bill number 2, 2021 and passed it without amendments.
Motion for adoption of the report from the Committee of the whole House.
Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the report from the Committee of the whole House be adopted.
I put a question that the report of the Committee of the whole House be adopted. Those in favor say and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Bill third reading.
The Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Income Tax Amendment Bill number 2, 2021 be read for the third time and do pass.
Honorable members, I put a question that the bill titled Income Tax Amendment number 2, Bill 2, 2021 be read a third time and do pass. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay.
A bill
The
for an
ayes have
act
it.
entitled the Income Tax Amendment Number 2 Act 2021.
The bill, the title settled and the bill has been passed. Congratulations. I want to thank you so much for passing the bill. Next item.
Item number 4, the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2021, Bill second reading.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2021 be read for the second time.
Is the bill seconded? Seconded by Silwani, Minister of Finance, Minister, Attorney General, Energy, Ebwalu, Singoma, Emigu. I can see many, very many. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Madam Speaker, the purpose of this bill is to amend the Public Finance Management Act of 2015 to allow the Uganda National Oil Company, UNOC, retain a portion of the proceeds from the sale of petroleum accruing from the government's state participating interest in the production sharing agreements to meet the government's and UNOC's financial obligations in the tariff and transportation agreement, the production sharing agreements, and the joint operating agreements. Madam Speaker, ever since we moved this bill for the first time, the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development has been conducting consultations, and I am aware they are now able to report back.
Thank you. Chair. Members, we have two reports on this. We have the majority report that is being read by Honorable Kefa, the chairman.
Okay, thank you very
And then
much.
we have the minority report that will be read by Honorable Chivumbi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable. First, I'd like to lay the minutes from the proceedings of the Committee on Finance, Planning and Economic Development, and then the committee report itself. Right Honorable, having laid the report and the minutes of the meeting, I'll not be reading the report verbatim. I'll try and summarize it from my talking notes. And I'll try as much as possible to be brief. First of all, let me give the background, which is very important in understanding where we are coming from. And the report has been uploaded. Uganda operates a production sharing agreement where international oil companies come in, invest, explore oil and gas at their own cost. If no discovery is made, as the Swahili say, sauli yako. If a discovery is made, then government receives royalty, receives various taxes, and profit oil after cost. But on top of that, government also has its own participation, and this participation is managed by Ugandan National Oil Company. Now, Ugandan National Oil Company is 51% owned by, it's wholly owned by government, 51% with energy and 49% with finance. However, as oil and gas activities commence in earnest, UNOC has no funds to manage and meet government financial obligations in its joint venture. As it stands, have funds, if Uganda National Oil Company is to meet its financial obligations, have to be appropriated from the petroleum fund. There is also a problem at the moment with the Public Finance Management Act 2015, which was established actually in the main, it has 9 parts, but part 8 of those 9 parts wholly concentrates on the management of oil revenue. And Section 56 establishes the petroleum fund and requires that all petroleum revenue must be deposited in the petroleum fund. Section 57 sets stringent measures to ensure that petroleum revenues are deposited in the petroleum fund. Section 58 deals with the withdrawals from the petroleum fund. Now, it's against that background that the bill, and these are the principles, more or less principles of the bill, seeks to amend the Public Finance Management Act to allow UNOC retain a certain portion of the proceeds from the sale of petroleum accruing from its 15% participating interest. I think it's very important to point out at this stage that we are only talking about retaining a certain portion of its 15% government participating interest, proceeds from that, to finance not its operating expenses, things like salaries and so forth, not its investment. We are not making any amendment regarding its investment, but to finance its financial obligations based on the several agreements that it has entered. And this is because, as a result of the increasing oil activities, its financial obligations can no longer be met according to the way that it is set up at the moment. Now, this as it is at the moment, and this is as according to what the stakeholders argued, first of all, poses the risk that it will not be able to meet its financial obligation. It undermines the confidence of the partners in the joint venture working with UNOC, that the UNOC may not be able to meet its financial obligation. So what we are talking about is amending the PFMA so that UNOC can access proceeds from the sale of crude oil, meet its financial obligations as per applicable agreements, and then any balances be deposited on the petroleum fund. And this is deemed as what will give the venture partners confidence that UNOC is a trading partner that they can deal with, that can meet the obligation. Very briefly about the methodology, which is outlined in our report. Wide range of stakeholders were consulted, wide range of documents reviewed, and although we are unable to do the benchmarking, we reviewed international practices in a number of countries. And in the report, actually, we are giving information on that. I also need to mention the limitations that we've had. First of all, that we've been operating in some sort of straitjacket, actually treading a very tight rope. Everything that we had to do was governed by some existing law somewhere, applicable law. And it's a host of them. Production sharing agreements, then there is the joint operating agreements, a wide range of them. So we had to treat very, very carefully not to offend other laws. Of course, as I mentioned, there's also been the challenge that what we report is very much regarding international experience is based on our review of documents. Now, let me just present the stakeholders' view, and again, I've summarized it. All stakeholders that we interacted with, and this included the esteemed Uganda Law Society, with the exception of the CESBAG, Civil Society Budget Advocacy Group, they all supported the bill. They all supported the amendment. Generally, we had 3 or 4 issues to determine. The first issue is around the definition of petroleum oil. However, the definition of petroleum oil is very much consequential. That is, the most important issue that we had to determine was issue 2. And issue 2 was about whether or not to allow UNOC to retain money at source without appropriation and then spend it as they like, and then have the balances transferred to the petroleum fund. But on considering this, we very much appreciated that first, UNOC is now a partner, and this is very much as advanced by the stakeholders, that UNOC is now a partner in upstream projects and is trading like other international oil companies. And the stakeholders that we interviewed presented a persuasive argument that other companies, oil companies, have been in the market for a considerable number of years. One of them that was quoted was Total Energies, which has a market capitalization of $121.74 billion, according to the shares on their stock market. Then they also presented the case of Sinopec of China, which has an operating capital of $53.21 billion. They also presented a persuasive argument that what is in our law stifles and does not allow UNOC to meet its financial obligations, which I highlighted earlier. Then they highlighted the fear of the process of appropriation, which according to international experience is risky and does not guarantee that the business venture will receive the money once subjected to appropriation. There's also an issue that sometimes that can lead to unpaid cash calls, stifle the growth of the oil company. And of course, that by its very nature, the appropriation process is sometimes long. Now, some of the risks as a result of that, which they identified, one was dilution, where UNOC loses its participating interest to the non-defaulting partner. So they are together in a business, one defaults, the others continue trading. And because this one has lost its position in the partnership, has defaulted, whatever then continues is between the operating partners who have not defaulted. Then there was the issue of loss of entitlement to oil produced, loss of access to information, loss of voting rights because the member that has defaulted in the venture is excluded from the meeting. Then there was also another serious issue of timing. Whereas the work plans and the budgets of the oil companies, which we are talking about being appropriated for, run from January to December. Our budgeting process, and when we implement our budget, is from July to June. So a misalignment, if UNOC is aligned, is subjected to the budgeting process. They also argued that there are checks and balances that will continue to be in place. And one of them was that the Petroleum Authority of Uganda will continue approving the work plans and the budgets from which cash calls are paid. Secondly, that Parliament will continue receiving UNOC's annual work plans and budgets as planned. And finally, that the Auditor General will be auditing Uganda National Oil's company's expenditure. Now, on the other hand, there were also persuasive arguments from the civil society budget advocacy group on behalf of the civil society. They argued that any reform that allows expenditure without public scrutiny by Parliament, especially using oil money, is likely to attract allegations of mismanagement, as Parliament representing the people will not be privy to the claims that they will be making. That what UNOC is seeking offends the Public Finance Management Act, and that the proposal undermines the principle of fiscal consolidation. And one of their statements, which I like to quote here, they argued that this, in our view, will be the last nail in the coffin of the store of oil in Uganda, because all safeguards and public scrutiny regarding oil revenues will be lost. So, honorable members, you can see how hard it was reconciling the two views. But we looked at international experience, and I look international practices. I leave you to look at that. So, honorable members, after many days of sitting and listening to the various stakeholders and listening to the arguments for and arguments against, somehow the committee found itself sort of caught between the hard and the rock. We had to make a recommendation to you. On one hand, we appreciate that UNOC needs access to money, and that we appreciate the problems that are, and this now I'm concluding with the committee observation and recommendation. We appreciate the challenges of subjecting UNOC to appropriation. But we also noted, on the other hand, that if these amendments are carried in the proposed amendment as contained in the bill, if they are carried in their present form, that they undermine the original intention of the Public Finance Management Act, that they weaken accountability mechanism, yet oil is an important resource, and expenditure should be within our agreed and audit procedures. We also noted that it would undermine the oversight role and the power of Parliament and its oversight and appropriation responsibility. It's against that background, therefore, that we come up with a hybrid. We are not allowing UNOC to keep money at source and spend it as they feel or as they like. But on the other hand, we are saying, yes, we should exercise our appropriation responsibility as Parliament. But we would like to see how those two can be flexibly reconciled in order to allow UNOC to operate as a business venture, which we should actually be supporting. And it's against that background that we come up with a recommendation that as you can see them in our conclusion recommendation, that UNOC be allowed to keep money at source based on their work plans and budgets, which will have been agreed by the Petroleum Authority, and of course, as you'll see later, again appropriated by Parliament. So they keep the money at source. That will give their joint venture partners that yes, the confidence that yes, they have the money, but they will not be able to use it until after that money has been approved by Parliament. Okay, you may say approved or you may say appropriated, whatever the term might be. Until after it has been appropriated by Parliament, until after Parliament has given a nod that yes, they can spend that money. But on the other hand, we have to deal with the challenge that we talked about earlier of the lengthy business processes of Parliament, where you are dealing with a business company which needs to spend here and now. And we are saying that we should also, as Parliament, discipline ourselves and allow them and make sure that when we get their work plans and the budget, we appropriate it within 15 working days. Which actually, again, that one is given. It's in the agreements. We cannot do much about that. It's in the joint operating agreements. So the rest then, having agreed on those key principles, the rest then is consequential, which takes us to the definition of oil, which becomes then very much consequential. If you have to retain a certain portion and it's not going to the petroleum fund, then that somehow affects the definition. So that's why we're also agreeing to the definition. And then whatever is not spent being sent to the petroleum fund is also consequential. So, Madam Speaker, I think I've tried as much as I can to summarize what we are saying, and hopefully you find this a very practical way of going forward with this bill. Now, I know that my colleagues on the other side have a minority report, which I think they wrote in anticipation, because we've handled when they walked away from the meeting, we handled all the issues that they are talking about. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair, for that report. And Honorable Chivumbi, I am told the issues were answered. Honorable Chivumbi is not Dr. Batua.
No, you know, soon I'll be the real Minister of Finance. So he has to prepare very well.
Good luck.
Not to that side, sir.
Just give us a summary, like what you have done.
Right, Honorable Speaker. I'll first of all begin where my other colleague, and I thank the committee for the tireless effort they put in. I've worked with the members of various committees, but I worked with a group dedicated to do a national service. Right, Honorable Speaker, I begin on that point. The matter beforehand transcends everything that defines us. It transcends our political colors. It transcends the present generation. It has impacts that are finite, are infinite and beyond. It will affect us and our children and our children's children. If there is a matter we must legislate to in the spirit of the large interest and with a bigger heart, it is this one. That's why we never raised a single issue on the taxation bill, because we believed it was perfect, it was called for. That's why we stand here, right honorable colleagues, to dissent from a majority report. And we dissent on 5 issues. 1, spending at source. 2, redefinition of petroleum revenue to exclude proceeds retained by UNOC. Isolation of Uganda Revenue Authority as a collector of petroleum revenue. Exclusion of the role of Bank of Uganda and Investment Advisory Committee. Withdrawal of appropriation powers of Parliament. Right Honorable Speaker, while the majority report observes that retention of revenue at source was halted following public finance management reforms, it still recommends retention of petroleum revenue by the Uganda National Oil Company. This is a contradiction. The country is moving in a trend of consolidating oil revenues to the consolidated fund. They have actually recalled the many agencies that enjoyed, what are they called, spending at source to consolidate so that expenditure is rationalized. That has been the focus. This amounts to legislating the perfection of the oil cash in Africa. We are not the first country to discover oil, and we are not reinventing the wheel. We are legislating in an environment of Africa where we are very clear now what befalls countries that discover oil if they mishandle them. We can speak about, I don't want for diplomatic relation to stand on this floor and mention countries, but examples abound, and we know them. Angola, so many countries have abundant oil, not even comparable to what we have. But when you go to those countries, irrespective of the oil, poverty defines those communities. The question is what legal framework, what are a governing arrangement do those countries legislate as to pertain oil? Right Honorable Speaker, a similar legal framework was applied in Angola that led to unlimited access of petroleum revenue by Senago, the national oil company in Angola. And it led to imprisonment of the former head, which is Isabella dos Santos, was the daughter of the former president of Angola. The company has been marred by corruption, wasteful expenditure, and fictitious expenditures. Right Honorable Speaker, let me bring it home for argument's purposes. In a country where a president appoints a wife as a minister, a son as the top security advisor, and a brother as the top security advisor, and commander land forces, what would stop one day president appointing a daughter as a CEO of UNOC? We live in the reality. I don't want to be theoretical about oil. I'll be as brutally honest as it comes. It can come home just the next day. Right Honorable Speaker, let me go to the second issue. Redefinition of petroleum revenue to exclude proceeds to be retained by UNOC. The proposed amendment in the majority report seeks to redefine the current definition of petroleum revenue contained in Section 3 of the Public Finance Management Act as the following, and I'll beg Parliament that I read it. Petroleum revenue means tax paid under the Income Tax Act on income derived from petroleum operations, government share of production, signature bonuses, surface rentals, royalties, proceeds from sale of government share of production, any other dividends due to government, proceeds from sale of government's commercial interest, and any other duties or fees payable to government from contract revenues under petroleum agreement. But this is where we have a problem. But excludes proceeds retained to meet the national oil obligation arising from petroleum agreement as approved by Parliament. I think I'm representing the majority report position very well. The satanic word here is only one, is exclude. Right, honorable colleagues. You are literally legislating to say petroleum revenue shall not include revenue from petroleum. Literally, that's what you mean by excluding, because the big contention is who determines the retention and at what stage. It's the sole monopoly of UNOP to say much of this we will use, and at the tail end, a residue, a balance will be put into the petroleum fund. Right, Honorable Speaker, these revenues are for Uganda. The assumption is that all of us are so incompetent that superhuman beings will be put in UNOP that have a nation at heart, that they will spend our money so religiously, and they will give us the balance we need. Right, honorable colleagues, the corruption, last week was the corruption week. The whole theme was, how do we curb corruption in this country? If we legislate this way, you can be sure as day follows night, we have perfected the model of Angola. And that's our bone of contention. You can't exclude, because I asked the technical officer a question, that even if you say you retain, at the end of it, will
Honorable
there be...
Chivumbi, kindly summarize and conclude.
Yes, I asked the minister a question. I mean, the technical officer the question. At the end of the day, will there be proceeds from petroleum? They said the answer is yes. Then I said, then why do you exclude? That's why, right, honorable speaker, point number 3, isolation of URA. URA is mandated to collect revenue. The petroleum due to the government shall be collected or received by Uganda Revenue Authority. However, the proposed amendment in the majority report that seeks to amend Section 57 of the Public Finance Management Act would enable the Uganda National Oil Company collect petroleum, retain a portion, deposit the balance into the petroleum fund. With the receipt submitted, and there is a possibility there will be no balance. Yes, there is a real possibility at the end of the day they will say there was no balance. We spent everything and you have a debt. There is that whole possibility. That's why, right, honorable colleague, this summon is our best intention for Uganda. Right, honorable colleagues, the role of Bank of Uganda. You are talking about oil money. In percentages, they look small. But in real terms, you are talking about billions of money. They have a capacity to cause inflation and risk our exchange rate if not regulated by Bank of Uganda and monitored. Therefore, you cannot legislate away BOU from petroleum. It has to retain its fair share. Right, honorable speaker, limiting the, you see, on investment, the act speaks clearly on how to invest oil money, and we have an investment committee, not UNOC. In the law, you can't wish it away. That's what the framers of the oil laws made. for this country. Good enough. This cocktail is not heavily anchored in the sharing agreement. It is our own to run our own company. I agree with the committee, and I find I've had a discussion behind the scenes with some members where we have agreed on the 15% on whatever model we follow. Okay, 15 days. But to deem that once 15 days are not made, it will be deemed to have been passed, that is unconstitutional. It does not mount to appropriation. Right, Honorable Speaker, as I end, let me take you what we propose as an amendment in our humble view. For us, one, we are proposing that the definition of oil be retained as it is to include petroleum revenue, but go ahead and amend Section 58 of the Public Finance Management Act and expand the people who can use, the agencies that can use petroleum revenue, and say national oil company shall receive a priority and first call to the fund. National oil company shall receive a first and urgent call. We also associate with a view, because when you read our amendment, you go to the committee stage. When you read our amendment, we agree with the 15 days because it's part of the agreement. But we also say that you cannot deem. But also let me urge Parliament, if you are going to be an oil producing efficient country, not only these laws must change, a lot of our behaviors must change. Our democratic credentials must change, the efficiency of how, and we think oil should drag the entire economy to efficiency. But for you to imagine that you will be efficient amid this inefficiency, you are simply a daydreamer. That you are going to create an efficient enterprise. I mean, there's a sea of inefficiency and give it a legal foundation. You are not legislating for posterity. So oil should take away. Right, Honorable Speaker, that's why our amendment strongly advocates that we give urgency by retaining the definition, but give Petroleum Authority a first call on the Petroleum Fund. There are avenues in the budget for supplementary. Two, cash calls, as so argued, are operational details. In the budget estimates of UNOCA that they present to Parliament, they can put a contingency provision.
Procedure.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Our colleague has put up a case, but now he has gone into amendments, which should be for committee stage. He's representing the amendments, the proposed amendments. So I wonder at what we shall do at committee stage. So are we procedurally moving right with the colleague bringing amendments which should be coming at committee stage? Because I has finished amendment number 1, I had gone to amendment number 2. Are we proceeding well, Right Honorable Speaker?
Honorable Chivombe, kindly summarize and close.
Right Honorable Speaker, I've made a passionate call to this Parliament. I'm as determined as any other our side to make UNOCA an efficient, up-to-date company that runs the oil business on behalf of Uganda efficiently. But we are advocating that let them do so within the framework as established with our amendments to the Petroleum Fund, where they will have a call, come here for accountability. We have even proposed a progressive amendment on appropriation. We want to move it away from Appropriation Act to make it appropriation at any time that they wish to. They come here and we give them the money. I beg honorable members to reject legislating for the African cause for the good of our country, our children, and our children's children. I beg to move.
Thank you, Honorable Chivombe, and the Chairman of the Finance Committee, Honorable Kefa. Members, you've heard. Why are you standing? I'm not going to allow the debate. Members, you've heard the minority report and then the major report, and we are going to debate on the merits and principles of the bill. As you've already heard what has been said in the bill, let's look at the principles of the bill. Let's debate on that. And also being mindful of the agreements that have been in place. First, I want Attorney General to clarify on the areas of dissent so that we guide the debate. Not the shadow Attorney General. I want the real Attorney General.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, Chairman, the committee, and Honorable Chivumbi with your dissenting views. Honorable colleagues and members of Parliament, like both members have stated, this is a very important bill for all of us, and it's important that we address it, like he said, together, so that we find a common solution. The areas of dissent are really depending on the first principle of whether or not UNOC should retain money and spend at source. Really, that has been quite addressed with the position that, with our back position that UNOC can retain but do not spend without Parliament. We agree that Parliament's power for appropriation should be maintained. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I just want us to highlight one fundamental thing. What is being discussed here is 15% state participation only. In oil and gas, in the PSA, we have four sources of income, four major sources of income. That is royalties, taxes, profit oil, and then state participation. State participation represents 15%, and that's what UNOC is going to back into these agreements. In the real scheme of things, it represents 7% of government take. So the 93% of government take is not a subject of this amendment. The second area of contention, Right Honorable Speaker, was the definition of what amounts to petroleum revenue, not oil, petroleum revenue. If we, and I must state—
Attorney General, I just want to understand one thing. On UNOC spending at source, it's an agreed position that, well, so much as UNOC is going to spend, but that is subject to an approval of Parliament.
Correct, Right Honorable Speaker.
So you're not removing the appropriation
Not at all.
role from Parliament?
Not at all. Not at all, Right Honorable Speaker.
Put on your mask.
Yeah, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm a new member to this Parliament. And as I was joining, I was told of about 3 mandates.
I hope we are speaking on part A.
Yeah, I was told of only 3 mandates of a member of Parliament: appropriation, legislating, and representation. I wonder where approval comes in. So do we have power to approve, or is just an English word?
He's talking about appropriation. Yeah, veterinary doctor.
No, I've heard of
He's talking
approval.
about appropriation.
I've heard of approval, that's why I stood.
Right Honorable Speaker, thank you very much.
Can you, I want clarification on A. Whoever wants a clarification, let's, Attorney General Shadow, do you have anything you want to say on A? No, I want a clarification on issues of dissent.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. After listening both to the majority and minority reports, and bearing in mind the history of the Petroleum Fund, the reasons why we created it, and also the reasons why we created the National Oil Company in the upstream bill. And bearing in mind that you would need a company that actually does business without it being unnecessarily hampered. And also bearing in mind that the National Oil Company has not participated fully in the upstream business because it has not been adequately financed, save for the latest resources we've given it. I do want to believe that we may need to have a middle ground that promotes the National Oil Company to do business, while also retaining Parliament's power to scrutinize whatever revenue is spent. That, to me, that would be the middle position. Because whereas we created the petroleum fund with stringent conditions, and if you look at the kind of the retention the National Oil Company is seeking, if we did an amendment to the definition section and restricted the retention in respect of the cost oil and in respect of money spent on the tariff, of course, again, subject to parliamentary approval afterwards, but should be able to have a cash on core basis, then to me, we would have a middle ground and move forward.
Yes. Thank you.
And I am speaking this based on, yes, my experience, because I was part and parcel of these oil bills, and that's why I was expelled from that side, but also as a businessman. I want things to move.
Attorney General, thank you. Attorney General, just a minute.
We'll go to Uganda Revenue Authority and the fund.
Thank you.
Right, Honorable Speaker. That's why we are making a case that we've got to be innovative in a legislative framework and don't exclude. You see, the principal word is exclude. We can legislate for retention, and we can achieve that. We've suggested ideas on how to legislate for effective retention, leaving out exclusion. But first, hold on a little bit as you explain, and I know the reason why. So as you explain, you know, the shadow minister, I guide these interests very carefully of finance. What we want to do under this law is that UNOC should have capacity to do business, undeniably. I'm not one of the people who come here and say it shouldn't. I would be extremely stupid. But I'm very careful with giving away proceeds. That's why we are making an amendment you followed at committee stage to the effect that if we amended 58 carefully, we can address all that you want. You would spend at source, you would do everything with scrutiny and have your way. And if you listen to our view, it's the smartest that you can ever get.
Shadow Attorney General.
I think when we talk about the cost oil, one of the biggest debates we had in this house was in respect of recoverable costs. And to the extent that, yes, they are recoverable costs, they are not revenue as such.
Yes.
Okay? And because they are not revenue as such, and the justification is for excluding them, but we are saying, although these recoverable costs, which constitute the cost oil for our aspect as the company, before you pay them, your share is paid to those who have made it, these oil companies. Let Parliament first approve, but you retain. Because even when you look at the current section 57, 5 and 6, they still allow UNOC to retain the petroleum, especially in kind, and even allow it to sell and only deposit the proceeds after. So to me, I think, and as far as retaining the percentage for the cost oil, but spending it after parliamentary approval would not be a problem, in my view. I hope I agree with me.
Thank you. Any other?
Thank you very much.
Can we go to C? Migade, you have? C, after Migade. I have seen Enos standing. Enos, the rules of procedure are that once you're a member of the committee, you are not supposed to debate. You've been able to debate in the committee, so it's not even anything for please sit.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you know, I'm sure you know my training as far as economics is concerned. And I know Honorable Chivumbi as a good economist. But Madam Speaker, before, when I was Vice Chairperson of Agriculture, I visited Nagrik. They look after animals, the data bank, piggery, and so on. And the law was, they are not supposed to spend at source. They had a group of pigs, some feeding, some breastfeeding, and the others. But they had spent a whole month without food. And the director said, you see, these pigs are hungry, but the law doesn't allow us to spend at source. And the previous week, they had sold out a number of piglets to the community, and they had the money. They showed me receipts. You see, last month, we generated 20 million shillings to government, but the law doesn't allow us to buy maize bran. And and we are questioning, why are these animals looking like this? We say, we look at the stores. There is no brand. So you have to go to Parliament so that they approve money to buy maize bran for these sickening animals. So some areas, and I'm happy that we are looking for a win-win situation. So there are certain critical areas where we must agree to bend for purposes of those sectors excelling. If we don't do that, we shall be in political economics, we shall not be in financial economics. And my appeal is that let's try to do financial economics and business economics. Then if one or the other, political economics will find it suit. Madam Speaker, previously, we have approved supplementaries here, and agencies have taken months without accessing those monies. And we have come back here to complain. Just last month, there was a motion here by local governments. And the reason was garbage is everywhere. But the Public Finance Management Act was saying that you must submit all the revenues collected. And I had members here say, and actually we were proposing that we should actually bend so that a certain percentage of revenues collected should be retained for purposes of addressing the critical sectors. So that's why, Madam Speaker, that's what I consider. We must find a win-win, but a financial win-win position, not a political win-win position. Thank you very much.
Alex.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I have very historical memories. I was a member of Natural Resource Committee when we came up with the petroleum laws. And we got time to visit for the best practices around the world. So when we were coming up with UNOC, with our national oil company, we looked at other companies and we realized that why China has advanced so much, they have made it very flexible for the government companies to run business and compete internationally. And you see many of these companies from China, actually they belong to government. So China mastered that art. So when we're coming up with the safeguards, we said that we must find our national oil company resources such that it does not struggle when it comes to running business. We don't want these other companies to take advantage of it. So I think the concern and the worry here would be that the operations of this company, is the Auditor General's office going to be involved to scrutinize what they are doing? So if there is a tick, we know that there is a safeguard, because the reports from the Auditor Generals will finally come to Parliament in case of any abuse or misuse of the fund. So I think as Parliament, we still have the checks and balances on how this money will be utilized. So the fact that these resources are going to be approved and they have put in a provision of 15 days, to me, I think that calls for the efficiency on the part of Parliament, because as Parliament, we don't want to lose our appropriation powers. So I don't see really a big problem unless we are so suspicious to the point, because even if you choose, I have seen, you can choose to even have these laws, but you still go against them and move on. Things have happened. So when we begin getting worried about who is going to be appointed in which office and so on, that does not make sense. What is important is that these safeguards which we are proposing, we make sure that our role as Parliament to appropriate is well guarded. For me, I think that is something I needed us to understand, and then we should be able to create a system that should enable Parliament play their role. Finally, Madam Speaker, I was very disappointed with a motion that was moved by Nandala when in the last Parliament, where they blocked us. You know, I'm on Kosase, and we could not go back to scrutinize the former Auditor General's reports because they had moved a motion here that the Parliament should not do so. I could not even believe how even such a people can really come up with the crazy idea of tying the hands of Parliament. So for me, we must have room for Parliament to be able to scrutinize all these companies that the government is coming up with. And we must also build our capacity because this petroleum is something new, something huge, and we need to think through as Parliament how we will be handling this sector. So we cannot treat it like any other parastatal of government. I beg to move, Madam.
Thank you. One thing that we must appreciate is the appropriation role is not removed. It is still with us. The 15 days will now check our efficiency as Parliament. Not where you give a committee work for 45 days, they are not finishing, but now we have the 15 days to make sure that we process and decide on what should be done. It's not that we must approve. You can actually not approve what the UNOC has asked for. C, Chairman, Attorney General, can we go to C? Let's first reconcile, Dr. Pell, let's reconcile this first.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. The last item would be the participation of BOU. The participation of BOU, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues.
There is isolation of URA.
Yes,
as a collector.
I'd spoken to that, but I can speak to it. Isolation of URA, Right Honorable Speaker, is provided for in Section 57(1) of the PFMA. Section 57(1) is not being amended. We are adding to 57, after 57(5), we are adding a 5A. And that's what I was explaining, that once UNOC has received the oil, the cost oil, and the money for the tariffs, everything else must be appropriated by Parliament. So once you have that exclusion, everything else goes to URA and is handled in the ordinary process.
Shadow 57(1), where it says the petroleum revenue due to the government shall be collected or received by URA, is not being amended.
Madam Speaker, we've had discussions in order to get a way forward. And in principle, we've agreed to, in order to allow UNOC to do business. If we exclude in the definition the revenue related to cost oil and the money for the tariff, then the rest, we do not need actually parliamentary approval for those two. Then the rest can be subjected to parliamentary approval. And then we move forward.
Can I hear from AG?
Most obliged. Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much for.
So can I now put a question? Members, honorable members, I put a question that the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2021 be read for the second time. Those in favor say unto the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
The Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2021, Bills Committee stage. The Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2021, Clause 1.
Madam Chair, we are slightly amending it to say okay, the petroleum revenue means tax paid under the Income Tax Act on income derived from petroleum operations, government share of production, signature bonus, surface rentals, royalties, proceeds from the sale of government share of production, any dividends due to government, proceeds from the sale of government's commercial interest, and any other duties or fees payable to the government from contract revenues under petroleum agreement, but excludes proceeds retained to meet the obligations of the National Oil Company arising from petroleum agreements as approved by Parliament from time to time. And there was an omission there, which I add, and cost oil attributable to state participation. Justification: to exclude the proceeds retained to meet the National Oil Company obligations arising from petroleum agreements as approved by Parliament from time to time.
Madam Chairperson, I thought the exclusion was only restricted to the cost oil and money payable under the act we passed on tariff. Basically that we don't now include in other retentions by parliamentary approval, and because that would be bringing more confusion. I thought that was the position. So only capture the exclusion to reflect the cost oil and the tariff transportation.
I think the drafting may be, I think if you look at further down at 2, that's where you have that. Because if you look at the further in clause 2, the obligations of ECOP are there. So what we're doing here is to allow that to be retained. The retention is specifically stated here. This is just the definition. You need to read them together.
Chair, I think the shadow minister had conferred and had a discussion with you and agreed, Attorney General, that in the definition of exclusion, for avoidance of doubt, okay? For avoidance of doubt, this exclusion is restricted to the tariff and cost oil, straight away from the definition. Rest, if that compromise is not taken, because that what we had compromised in our amendment was a deletion. So my humble view, Chair, is that if we are to agree to exclude, we exclude for avoidance of doubt, in particular as relates to cost oil and meeting the tariff.
Can you frame your amendment the way you want it to be? Because the chairman has given you his definition. Can I have your amendment?
What I was going to say, that would be helpful to look at what is it that they are amending and how they want it to look.
So we say petroleum revenue means tax paid under the Income Tax Act on income derived from petroleum operations, government share of production, signature bonus, surface rentals, royalties, proceeds from the sale of government share of production, any dividends due to government, proceeds from the sale of government's commercial interests, and any other duties or fees payable to the government from contract revenues under a petroleum agreement, but excludes cost oil and payments under the Tariff and Transportation Agreement under the East African Crude Pipeline Act 2021.
Can you please draft again? Just draft again. Just read that again, please. Read the drafting.
we retain the entire provision, but when we reach but excludes, say but excludes the cost oil and tariff payable under the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Act 2021.
May I propose, Shadow Attorney General, to add, and cash calls approved by Parliament from time to time. And cash calls approved by Parliament from time to time.
That's okay.
Yes, thank you.
Clarification.
Would you have issues if we said cash calls appropriated by Parliament from time to time?
No problem. No problem.
Attorney General, we need a further amendment from his side. Further clarification. Go ahead. He said we are going to make an amendment.
Right Honorable Speaker and members, so we have pretty much agreed on the definition that is stated, but there's a come from another issue that was raised in this bill which we need to correct. And that is that the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Act has not yet been amended.
Yes.
So we are proposing that it states that meeting the obligations borne out of the National Oil Company on its own behalf and on behalf of government, as provided for in the host government agreement and the tariff and transportation agreements and the law in respect to the East African Crude Oil Project.
Honorable members, I am putting a question on the amendment of the Attorney General as read by him. Those in favor of the amendment say aye, and to the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Clause 1 as amended.
I put a question that clause 1 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Clause 2.
Chair.
Madam Chair, we propose an amendment to clause 2 of the bill to substitute with the following. 2, amendment of clause 57, Principal Act. The Principal Act is amended in section 57 by inserting immediately after subsection 5 the following. 5A, notwithstanding any provision of this act, the National Oil Company shall retain a portion of the proceeds from the sale of petroleum arising from the state participating interest in applicable petroleum agreements for purposes of 1, meeting its financial obligations arising from applicable petroleum agreements and joint operating agreements in each calendar year based on the estimated budgets and 2, meeting obligations borne by the National Oil Company on its own behalf and on behalf of the government as provided for in the host agreements, tariff and transportation agreements, and the law relating to the East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline Project. 5B, the National Oil Company shall present the budget estimates referred to in subsection 5A1 to Parliament, and upon approval by Parliament, the National Oil Company shall use the proceeds retained. 5C, the budget estimates presented under subsection 5B shall be processed by Parliament within 15 days from the date of submission, and where a decision is not made by Parliament within 15 days, the budget estimate shall be deemed approved. 5D, the National Oil Company shall deposit the balance of proceeds retained after expending the monies for the purposes of subsection 5A into the Petroleum Fund, and shall submit a copy of the record of the monies deposited to the Minister, the Uganda Revenue Authority, the Secretary to the Treasury, the Accountant General, and the Auditor General. Justification. 1, to enable the National Oil Company retain a portion of the proceeds from the sale of petroleum arising from the state participating interest in applicable petroleum agreements for meeting financial obligations arising from applicable petroleum agreements and joint operating agreements in each calendar year based on the budget estimates. 2, to compel the National Oil Company present the budget estimate to Parliament for approval, and to mandate the National Oil Company use the proceeds retained. 3, to provide timelines within which Parliament is to approve the budget estimates. And 4, to mandate the National Oil Company to deposit the balance of the proceeds retained after expending monies for the purposes of subsection 5A into the Petroleum Fund.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, I agree with the proposal.
I put a question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay.
Clause 2 as amended.
I put a question that clause 2 as amended do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say aye, to the contrary nay. The ayes have it. Chair.
Madam Chair, on clause 3,
there is no clause 3, there is an insertion. You're amending, you're proposing a new clause.
we are proposing amendments, numerous. Some are just numbering, and on section 58 of the Principal Act. 1,
it should be the bill is amended by inserting a new clause immediately after 2. and you read the clause.
Okay, the bill is amended by inserting a new clause, clause 3, to read as follows. We are renumbering the current provision as subject. All right, okay. Clause 3, amendment of section 58 of the Principal Act. Section 58 of the Principal Act is amended by 1, renumbering the current provision as subsection 1, 2, inserting a new paragraph C immediately after paragraph B to read as follows. And this is now C. For approved investments of the National Oil Company, and 3, inserting a new subsection immediately after the proposed paragraph C to read as follows. For the purposes of this section, approved investments means investments are approved by the Board of Directors of the National Oil Company and the Cabinet. Justification: to allow for withdrawals of money from the Petroleum Fund for approved investments of the National Oil Company and to define approved investments. Thanks, Madam.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, I agree with the proposal.
I put a question that a new clause be inserted immediately after clause 2 as proposed. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
The title.
I put a question that the title do stand part of the bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Motion for the House to resume.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that the House do resume and the Committee of the whole House report thereto.
I put a question that the House do resume and the Committee of the whole House do report thereto. Those in favor say and to the contrary, nay. The ayes have it.
Report from the Committee of the whole House.
Honorable Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the House has considered the bill entitled the Public Finance Amendment Bill 2021 and passed it with amendments.
Which amendments? On which clauses?
Madam Speaker, the amendments relate to clause 1, 2, and the insertion of a new clause immediately after clause 2, which is clause 3.
Okay.
Motion for adoption of the report from the Committee of the whole House.
Honorable Minister.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the Committee of the whole House be adopted.
The report. The report of the whole House be adopted.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the report from the Committee of the whole House be adopted.
I put a question that the report of the Committee of the Whole House be adopted. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
Bill third reading.
Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the bill entitled the Public Finance Management Act 2021 be read for the third time and do pass.
I put a question that the bill titled the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill 2021 be read a third time and do pass. Those in favor say aye, and to the contrary nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act entitled the Public Finance Management Amendment Act 2021.
Title settled and the bill passed. Congratulations.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to first appreciate you for supporting us through this process. But I also wish to inform the House that my senior is here, Honorable Matia Kasaita. And on behalf of the ministry, he would like to say something in appreciating your role.
Honorable Speaker and the colleagues, members of Parliament, I'm really very elated. I have been in this house, this is now from 1979. I had never seen Parliament talking on an issue like this with a common voice. I think the method of work that you have adopted to consult each other, instead of coming to beat each other here and then humiliate each other on the floor of Parliament, I think is a nice method of work, Madam Speaker, and I want to congratulate you. We are not legislating for ourselves. I was very happy when I heard I think Honorable Kivumbi or someone else, that we are legislating for generations. This resource we are talking about, some of us may not even see much about it, but our children and our grandchildren. So colleagues, I entrust you that in future, on matters of this, let's forget about politics. Let us look at the good of the country. I thank you very much. Let us proceed like that, and I can tell you we shall achieve more things, and the population is going to be very happy because they will know that we're working for them, and we came here to work with them. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. I want to thank the chairperson of the Committee of Finance. I also want to thank the Shadow Minister of Finance. I want to thank the Shadow Attorney General for his input. And equally, I want to thank the Attorney General on this side for the good work they've done. And I want to thank the Chief Whip in a special way. He's very passionate for his work. He's doing a very good job. He has not rested. And the acting leader of government business today. Thank you so much. The Minister of Energy, we have done your work. We leave the rest to you. And thank you for the passion that you put into these bills. Attorney General, you're such a wonderful person. We've been able to pass the income tax amendment number 2, 2021, and then the Public Finance Management Act, Bill 2021. And as we pass these bills, we leave it now to you, executive. You must do the work for this country. We have the oil, we have given you the laws, so we want to see the proceeds of the oil. Honorable Musasizi, you are a very wonderful person. I want to thank you so much. Chairman, you want to say something? And the House, you're such wonderful people. Now you're counting the number of bills you're passing. Now you're working.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think first of all, it's my maiden bill as chair of the Finance Planning and Economic Development. So it's been a pleasure to see it through. But I'd like, first of all, to thank you very, very much for all the support you've given us in this process. I'd like to thank my colleagues, the members of the committee who worked very hard around this. At points in time, it seemed like mission impossible. And against the pressures of time that we're having. But thank you very much, colleagues, members of the Committee, Finance and Economic Planning. I also like to thank very much the Chief Whip, been very, very supportive throughout the process. I cannot thank enough the Attorney General, who I found very much a man down to earth. At all times, he was available for me to consult him. Even when he was outside the country, he was still accessible and would come back with a very detailed explanation on issues that we are consulting. And thanks for everybody, thanks to the House. I'm glad that has been passed unanimously, almost. I'm glad that we've found a practical way forward on this. But I'd like to mention that it's very unfortunate that as a committee, we did not have opportunity of benchmarking and getting a good feel of how others have been handling these issues. Although it has been very much based on our literature review. So I think that's an element that we have to consider very much in the future. Finally, Madam Speaker, in coming up with the recommendations that we came up with, we had a lot of anxiety on whether things will work or they will not work. But what we borne in mind is that if it doesn't work, then we can always come back and talk about it again. Thank you very much, Right Honorable. Thanks indeed, Honorable Members.
Thank you. The User Department.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, Uganda National Oil Company is not here in the House physically. Petroleum Authority of Uganda is not in plenary. But I know their ears have been on the ground. And I hope that they have taken note of the concerns of this August House. Accountability, transparency, and in making sure that the country gets what we are expecting to get out of our petroleum. So I am standing here as a shareholder, 51%, and as a minister in charge to pledge on behalf of the National Oil Company and the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, total commitment to this country and to this August House in making sure that we transact the business for which this particular bill has been tabled, basically to enable Uganda National Oil Company transact their business. So I'm standing here to thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, to thank the Minister of Finance, who fronted the bill, to thank the Attorney General, to thank the government chief whip who coordinated us, and most importantly, to thank those who are carrying out the oversight function, the leader of opposition and his entire team, right from the time when we processed the East African crude oil pipeline bill, because the three bills have been related. I'm very grateful that we are ending the year with this Christmas package to the developers and the shareholders, which they have been waiting for. I pray that the bills now leave Parliament to State House so that that ritual is also concluded, and then we see how we begin on the contracting procedure on Tier 1. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister for Government Chief Whip wants to say something.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I wanted to express thanks from our office to just only and only one person, that is you. Because, Right Honorable Speaker, the way you guided us, the way we worked overnight, all this commitment behind the scenes with all these colleagues, all this was because we knew you were behind us as a team to come out with an uncompromising position that benefits the country, not our party interests. So I just wanted it to go on record that my office is really, really appreciative of how you coordinated us. And if we continue working like these colleagues, I'm very sure we are going to be a parliament that will surpass all other parliaments. Yes. Even the sky won't be the limit for us if we continue working this way. Thank you. Right,
Thank you, Government Chief Whip. Leader of Government Business, then we go to the next item.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. On behalf of the NRM government, I want to take this opportunity in a special way to thank you for the leadership you have manifested, especially for such bills where I would always take time, have break, and also go in the lobby to go and discuss. I've liked your style, most especially to bring out only the controversial issue or issues which we have not yet agreed on as teams. And you also give us the opportunity to discuss and agree and save on time and resources of taxpayers in this country. I want to say thank you. I want to thank the Shadow Attorney General, the Shadow Minister for Finance, plus the leadership of the alternative team in Parliament. I want in a special way to thank the Minister of Finance and the technical team, Attorney General and the technical team, Minister of Energy and the technical team, Government Chief Whip and the technical team, plus the entire structure of the Government Chief Whip in Parliament. In a special way, thank you so much, members who have come to attend, but also most importantly, to make sure we save on time and manage business in this country. I'm here on behalf of government to say thank you all. We are proud of you, Parliament, as NRM government, and ready to continue working and improving every day. Thank you.
Thank you. I was about to say Secretary General because she talks about NRM all the time. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister, Leader of Government Business. I want to thank the whole House and say I'm grateful. We are grateful as Parliament for your commitment. We therefore adjourn the House to tomorrow, 2 p.m.